Today I want to tell you about the oldest cold case in the state of Oregon that was solved last year in December of 2020, more than 45 years after the victim had been found. Today we're going to take a look at that cold case and see how it actually turned out and how they were finally able to identify the victim of this crime. And thank you for joining me today. DNA helps ID little boy found dead in Oregon Lake in 1963. A fisherman found a body of a young boy in Keene Creek Reservoir off Highway 66 east of Ashland, Oregon in July of 1963. The boy had been wrapped in a blanket and a handmade patchwork quilt with two iron assessor molds inside to weigh him down. Investigators determined the boy likely suffered from Down syndrome. His clothes, a long sleeve red shirt, gray corduroy pants with an elastic waist, ankle socks, and size 3 jumping jack shoes, were likely purchased at J.C. Penney's and Norris Shoe Store in Medford, Oregon. But no one knew who he was. The case of John Doe, 1963, went cold, and the files were put away in the sheriff's archive office for more than 45 years. In 2007, Sergeant Colin Fagan uncovered 11 paper boxes marked Old Sheriff Cases. Fagan asked Special Investigator Tim Trazel to sort through them and follow up. A little boy was found dead and never identified until now. Investigators went back to work. In August 2008, the tiny body was exhumed from his resting place at Hillcrest Memorial Park Cemetery, and DNA samples were taken. This lead also went out to the Combined DNA Index System, or otherwise known as CODIS, returned no matches. The sheriff's office had quickly come to another dead end, but the sheriff's office continued vigorously to try to find someone or somewhere that may have information. In 2010, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the NCMEC, created a composite image using the extracted DNA free of charge. But the big break in the case would not come until the Oregon's oldest identified person case came more than a decade later after that, in December of 2020. A tip came via Facebook Messenger on the sheriff's official webpage. Sheriff Nate Sickler asked the deputy medical examiner, Detective Christian Adams, to continue the investigation. Adams worked with Dr. Nikki Vance at the Oregon State Police Department to submit a biological sample of the unidentified child to Pardon Nano Laboratories to generate investigative leads through DNA phenotyping and genetic genealogy. At that point, the investigation, C.C. Moore, chief genetic genealogist with Pardon Nano Laboratories, searched through open source DNA repositories, GenMatch, and found two potential siblings of the unidentified child. An interview with a DNA confirmed maternal half brother in Ohio revealed that he had a young sibling with Down syndrome who was born in New Mexico but went missing some years later after he was born. Upon further investigation, a birth record was uncovered in New Mexico. After 58 years, the Keene Creek baby Doe had a name, Stevie Crawford, born October 2nd, 1960. At the time his body was discovered, investigators suspected he had been in the lake since 1962, meaning he died just after his second birthday. Throughout the years, many people were instrumental in assisting to identify Stevie, often providing their time and efforts free of charge. The sheriff's office said some of these people included Hillcrest Memorial Park Cemetery, Jed Ramsey, who donated the work in 2008 to exhume the body. East Main Dental Center in Medford, Oregon, Dr. Gregory Pearson and Dr. Hallberg, donated their services for the dental identification, which revealed eh, congenital defects. University of Oregon forensic anthropology Dr. Jeannie McLaughlin donated her time and efforts to the skeletonization and remains for analysis for DNA extraction. The JCSO detectives who logged many unpaid hours in attempting to identify Stevie, including Sergeant Colin Fagan, Detective Tim Pike, and Special Investigator Jim Traskell. Little Stevie has finally been laid to rest in a marked grave, as opposed to a grave marked John Doe. We still don't know who took Stevie's life. Most likely, if it was one of the parents in this case, they have both been deceased for quite a few years at this point, along with several other people who were close in proximity to the family at that time. Most of the families who lived in this area have either died off completely or have moved back east or to California. The two potential biological matches that they came up to that determined a half brother in Ohio. The other match was out of California. The one in California did not match completely. So they went back to the drawing board and looked at the one in Ohio, where they determined that it was a half sibling of this little boy. Stevie, for all those years, he laid in a shallow grave in the reservoir. But finally, Stevie has been laid to rest. With the advancements in technology and the help of Pardon Nano Laboratories, who have been donating their services in a lot of circumstances to help solve these cold cases, we're finally able to put a closure to another case. Finally able to lay little Stevie to rest. Pray for Stevie. Say a prayer. Take a moment of silence for him. And just remember, people loved Stevie. Whatever happened, and whoever did this may never serve, a sentence in prison for it. But at this point, the most important thing is Stevie is now finally at rest. And we have a name. We have a name, and the family can now mourn the loss of little Stevie.